Today, we're going to be reviewing a viral TikTok of a wife who complained to her husband when he made the toilet water blue through one of those filters you see. Now, why I find this video interesting and worth reacting to is two reasons. First off, I find it interesting that this video had the opposite reaction than she thought it would. The internet reacted very badly to what she was saying. So that's one thing we're going to talk about. Why did that happen to her? And the second thing I want to talk about is, as Christian single men, that's who I'm really directing this video towards, is how can you meet a woman who isn't going to end up being a complaining wife? By reviewing this video and applying relevant scriptures, I think we can see 5 traits that you're going to want to avoid in a woman so you don't end up marrying someone who is a complainer, like a hardcore complainer. All right, let's get into the clip.
My husband and I have been married for 17 years. We got to the biggest fight we've ever gotten into, ever, over our toilet water. You tell me if I'm overreacting, because I really don't think I am.
So right from the start, I see a problem that can give us a clue on what you're going to want to avoid. When someone takes an in-house spat, argument, disagreement, and they feel the need to bring other people into it who have nothing to do with it, that just creates extra drama. And as we'll talk about later on, it seems like she thought she was going to get a lot of support for her side of the argument. And that's something that a lot of toxic women do amongst their girlfriends. They will take a problem they're having with their boyfriend or husband or whoever, and then they will set it up and lead the girls around them to validate their position. And that's what this woman did there, if you pay close attention. She said, "We had a huge argument, and I don't think I'm wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong." And that's really a leading statement. And in my opinion, it's looking for validation that she's not wrong. If she was sitting amongst her girlfriends, they would kind of know, oh, okay, like we're supposed to tell her she's not wrong. And that blew up in her face, though, because she posted this on the internet, not amongst her close friends who are just going to validate whatever she says. I also think that there was a fruitlessness to bringing this to the internet because it wasn't a teaching moment like, hey, you know, me and my husband had one of the dumbest arguments of our entire marriage. Let me tell you what I learned from that situation. Rather, this was, again, bringing other people into the argument for really no positive reason other than adding to the complaining, adding to the drama. Proverbs 26:20-21, "For lack of wood the fire goes out, and where there is no whisperer, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife." So the takeaway here is that you want to look for a woman who can keep problems between you both. Of course, it's good to look for counsel if she needs some advice from her friends or a mentor, someone who actually has good advice. Nothing wrong with that, but that's different than constantly bringing other people into the issue. All right, let's get back into this video.
Okay, so here's what happened. Every single time I go out of town, my husband's incredible. Like, I travel a lot for work. I come home. He's so great about cleaning the house, doing the laundry, keeping up with the kitchen. The house is always immaculate when I come home. Somehow this man got it into his head that, what would be really cool is if you put one of those giant blue hockey discs in the back of your toilet water so that every time you flush, the toilet comes out blue. The toilet water comes out blue. Like we live at a 7-Eleven or something.
All right. On a side note, for me, when I see blue toilet water, I think it looks cleaner, but that's totally besides the point. I think one of the reasons she got such a negative backlash on the internet when she posted this was how she set this whole thing up. She goes into detail about how great her husband is. She goes on a trip. The whole house is clean. He's done the laundry. He's cleaned the kitchen. She's like, he's amazing. And then she jumps into this ridiculous complaint about something that doesn't matter. And she makes a huge deal about this small thing. And I think one of the reasons this triggered so many people on the internet is because it was really showing them that this man cannot win. You know, he did everything he possibly could, and she found something to complain about. And that's the sign of a true complainer. They're really never satisfied. No matter what you do, they're gonna find something. This man cleaned the toilet. He just went above and beyond in a way that she didn't like. I mean, let's be honest, guys. There's a lot of men out there who have some nasty toilets, right? You lift up that seat, oh, the rim is covered in pee. It's got spots all over the place. You know, you put it back down, you're like, that's gross, disgusting, right? Well, this man did not have that type of toilet. The water was just blue. So again, when you run into a woman who just has to nitpick something, know that you will never be able to do enough. And that's what you got to be aware of. There are people like that out there. You know, you can't think, oh, you know, if I just do it perfectly, she'll finally get off my back. There are women and men, of course, but we're talking you know, from this other perspective about men avoiding marrying a complaining woman. You have to realize if she is a true complainer who will just find something, or if this is like a one-off issue. Look at what Jesus said in Matthew 11:16-19. To what can I compare this generation? It is like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends, we played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't mourn. For John didn't spend his time eating and drinking, and you say he's possessed by a demon. The Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, and you say he's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and other sinners. To be clear, this is a human issue, not just a woman issue. We all struggle with complaining at times. But again, big picture, you need to see what's the trend. Is it like what Jesus talked about? You play one song, that's too sad. You play another song, that's too happy. We must all seek to obey Philippians 2:14-15. Do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people.
So I come home, I'm using, like, I go to the bathroom and I'm like, why is the water blue? And he's like, oh, I bought these things to put in the back of the toilet. I was like, what were you doing at the store? Looking at the aisle of all the things for cleaning items for the house where you thought that would be a good idea. Take me through that. He's like, you're making such a big deal. You're being so dramatic. I'm like, I am not being dramatic. So for a month, I'm flushing the toilet and it's still blue. And I'm complaining about it every day.
So point 3 here is that complainers are marked by trying to wear you down. This woman said a lot of things in that string there that I think triggered a lot of people. First off, it was the emotion, the energy behind the complaints. And then it was, she complained every day for a month. Drip, 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 drip. That's what the Bible compares a wife like this to. A constant drip on a rainy day that just won't stop over and over and over and over again. So I'm reading between the lines. It seems like, I don't know these people. I don't know the details, but from this interactions that she's giving us, she's telling us the information. It seems like her husband's a reasonable guy, trying to take care of things. I'm betting from a male perspective, if she came home and instead of going into this little issue with a bunch of emotion, she said something like this, it would be very different. Honey, thank you so much for cleaning the house. You always do such a great job of taking care of things while I'm gone. You do the laundry, the kitchen looks awesome. I really appreciate everything you do. But I want to be honest, I really don't like the blue water in the toilets. I know it's not a big deal, but for some reason it really bothers me. Is there any chance we could get rid of it and just have clear water again? Now, again, I'm just guessing. I think a man, this guy, would probably just laugh it off and be like, really? Like, you care? Just give her maybe a little hard time about it and then change him. He'd be like, yeah, all right, no big deal. You don't like the blue water? I don't really care, but I think you're being ridiculous. I'll change it for you. But because she came in with all this energy, he would have felt very emasculated if he instantly went and just changed it. Like, oh, my wife's yelling at me, I better go do what she wants. And as a man, he felt threatened, probably, or not threatened's not the right word, but more so like pushed. Like, you're pushing me in a corner. You're trying to make me lose my man card here. And so I'm reading between the lines. I'm guessing it sounds like he kind of dug in his heels on this little issue, because he's like, stop telling me what to do in such an aggressive way. So to me, this isn't a big issue. Like, I don't think she's a toxic woman because she's nitpicks about blue toilet water. Whatever, we all have preferences. But the issue is that she handled the issue so crazy. So a tip for you single guys out there is not that you should look for a woman who doesn't have preferences or just always goes along with everything. Rather, look for a woman who can be kind and grateful while still expressing her personal desires to you. Proverbs 15:1 and verse 4 states, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit."
I'm like, I literally, Nick, I can't live like this anymore. I cannot live with the blue toilet water. So literally, like, we're laying in bed the other night, and I just go on TikTok, like, how do I empty the back of my toilet tank so I can, so that I can get rid of this blue water. I literally, like, put in the search bar, how do I empty the back of a toilet tank? He gets up in a fury, like, oh my God, you're making such a big deal about this.
Point 4 here is that a woman desperate for attention often is a complaining woman. So you can kind of tell when she gives that little giggle during the line of, I just can't live with this blue toilet water. And so that's a sign that she knows she's being ridiculous. She knows this is out of control. So why is she doing it? Now, I certainly don't know this woman's heart. We don't know anyone's heart. Only God can read the motives and the heart behind it. So I'm just talking in generalities here, not about this specific woman and her motives behind all this. What I will say is that a lot of women have turned their need for attention, and that's not just a woman problem, that's just all of us. Sometimes we are sinful and craving attention in an idolatrous way. But women tend to try to satisfy this unquenchable longing for attention through complaining. Complaining becomes like this twisted version of their love language. Wanting to feel loved and valued is good, but some women go about this in a sinful way. Oftentimes, the nagging is about a deep emptiness in themselves that they are trying to solve through getting a man's attention, even if it's negative attention. In a messed up way, through their complaints, it's like they're asking, do you really care for me? It seems like she wasn't going to let it go until her husband snapped. It felt like she wanted him to get emotional about her emotions so that she could feel some twisted version of his care for her. All that to say, try to avoid that woman who is sending off that vibe of a deep emptiness, and they're trying to get you to fill that emptiness within them. And one of the tactics they're using is complaining, like, more attention, more attention, more attention. I'm going to complain. And they're not like rationalizing it, but subconsciously it's because they're completely empty and they're going to a man to make them feel better. And again, this is a human issue, not just a woman issue. The only solution for all of us is Jesus. Without Jesus, we don't have that deep contentment that we all need. Now, I think men and women go about trying to satisfy this emptiness in different ways a lot of times, but the core issue for all of us is a need for Jesus. Therefore, as a man looking for a wife who won't be a constant complainer, you really need to look for a woman who has learned how to be content in the Lord first and foremost. If she needs your attention to solve some identity issue in her, she will never be happy.
When did you get so highfalutin? Blah, 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 blah. You've changed so much. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, changed so much. Like, we live in a pretty nice neighborhood. Like, it's 2024. Like, what are you doing where you think this was a good idea? So that night, he emptied the toilet bowl somehow. I still don't know how to do it. And it's great. It looks good now in the main bathroom, but not the master.
It's the last little bit there, like, just kind of reinforces what I was saying earlier about it never being enough. It's like, he finally did what I want, but I still have one more complaint. Now, I also think she reveals some interesting information there where her husband finally snaps, which seems like what she wanted. And during this spat, he flies out, "You've changed. You're different now." And again, I don't know these people. We don't know everyone's heart and all that. But what I will say is that a lot of times it's not that they have changed. That's true. Complainers do change, but they don't change. They change by getting worse, is what I'm trying to say here. They do change and they get worse. And so the tip for you as a Christian single guy looking for a woman who you can marry that doesn't end up being a crazy complainer down the line is that you got to look at where she's headed. It's going to start small, and over the years, if you don't deal with your issues, they always get worse. That's true of everyone. And when we're talking about complaining, that's true as well. Little complaints about nonsense, you might be able to put up with it now. Oh, she gives you a hard time about driving at a certain speed, or she gives you a hard time about not picking the right restaurant. You're like, oh, whatever. Like, if she has a trend of little complaints, just know 15, 20, 30 years down the line, it's probably going to be extremely bad. Again, our only hope is Christ. With Christ, we can all repent. We can all change. I'm not saying someone like this is hopeless. That's the hope of the gospel, that through Jesus, we can repent and all be transformed more into his image. Here's another reaction video I did where a woman almost divorced her husband because he didn't clean a baby bottle. And by looking at this video, reviewing it from a biblical lens, we see 12 differences between worldly women and godly women. So feel free to watch that if you're interested. I'm Mark from applygodsword.com. I'll see you at the next video. God bless.